I'll pause it here.
I really don't want to
Just-
sit in the front row.
So, sorry, guys. I've got a kid with a fever at home.
That's all right. So we are going to call the
Sarah's not gonna be here.
March 5th Fair Board work session to order.
Okay. I got an hour worth of stuff here, but I don't know if some of these discussions may go quicker or slower, but I figured we could wrap it up by going and walking out and looking into the horse stalls and
Yep.
just kind of getting on the same page. I know I probably spend more time in there than you guys do, and it would still benefit me to go out there and look at them and talk about it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, first one is the poster contest. It ended on Friday. We did quite a bit of outreach trying to get folks in. I think we can build on it in future years, and if we make this an annual thing, I think it'll only grow and grow. Getting the schools involved, I think, would be a big piece. Getting that arts group involved was like, they're really interested in participating in the fair and maybe having like a whole exhibit section. But as far as the poster thing, I think some of them were like, well, this isn't enough time by the time I got in touch with the group, and then they got in touch with all of the other folks, and so, but I think we have three good candidates. They're over there. You all want to go and look at them and get your thoughts. I think, are they all scanned in here too, Kristen? Hold on.
They're.
They're very nice.
They're very good.
I'm really impressed.
Poster contest.
And then we can, do a survey and get folks to vote. Poster contest, poster entries. Let me share my screen here, Mallory, so you can see. Oh, it's sideways, so that's just it here. That's the first one, and I'd say this, can you hear me? Sorry, Mallory, I'm not speaking very loud.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can.
First one, it doesn't really do it as good as justice, because when she submitted it, all of these individual pieces are actually cut out and glued on to the page. So when you see it in person, it looks much different. Pretty interesting. This one from Tia, which is twisted the other way. This was all like a watercolor or marker type thing, I think, in the original, and I really like this one. I think it feels like it kind of goes with the old school barnyard thing that we did forever.
Yeah.
And the log truck, it's the forestry piece. And then this other one, it also came in, again, it's the forestry and farm thing.
Oh, I didn't notice the chicken.
The chicken. You didn't see that? Oh, I saw that.
I really think any of the three, I mean, they're really good.
Yeah.
You could use any one of these, but.
I think we should also, if we can, make them bigger and have them displayed during the fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, blow them up.
Yeah.
you like the full size posters they do for the contestants.
Yeah.
Yeah, the honorable mentions and then, what we'll do, whichever the winner one is, we'll put, Clatsop County Fair, August or July 30th through August 3rd. Or website link,
Yeah.
hours, ticket prices on there, and we'll send it around town. Like we will with the concert. So yeah, that went well. I think it was a good, trial run into it. And it's something we can use. Hey.
That gets community involved too, that's the cool part.
Yeah. Go ahead and get this turned off. Nope. There it is. There we go. The next one, the Master Gardener, I just kind of wanted to touch with you guys on this for a few minutes. they want to do some improvements. They want to cut down some of those, maple trees. Which told them I'm fine, we're happy to help them do that, especially now before they grow leaves on them
Yeah.
and it becomes a big mess. And then, they wanna like kind of do some changing of the landscaping and all of that. And I told them, maybe wait before you guys invest a bunch of money. Like, we don't know where our plans are going with the
Yeah.
fairgrounds. And we had some conversation about trying to do some fill off the edge of the asphalt. Said I didn't want them to make an investment and then us go through this process over the next year and then be like, hey, we don't want you gone, but we want to do something a little different. So that also led to who do I talk to? Because there's really no agreement with them. I mean, we have the OSU agreement that says master gardeners will have a demonstration garden, but it doesn't really say, like it does with the association and, what they're gonna do and all that. But I think where we're at right now, it's kind of cleared the dust. It's, Missy is their president of the association right now,
Missy Pooh.
Missy Bright.
right? And she's on the same page too. She's like, yeah, we want to do some stuff. We want to get more into a demonstration piece instead of like, it's really just turned into I don't even know what they're calling it now, but it's not really what they see as far as an educational demonstration garden. But part of their problem has been those trees have shaded it out and
Yeah.
made it really challenging for them to do stuff. So we'll help them. We'll take those 3 down. If they want to take more down next year, we can talk about that next year, and then we'll involve them in our process as we're moving forward. But
Yeah, good.
told them it's not gonna be a priority, but we should probably talk about a agreement and point of contacts and, if they wanna make changes. I said I'd be happy to come to their meetings like once a quarter or something and just kind of catch up from them on what their plans are. When they first started, it was pretty much, this was all they had. It was, the master gardeners was the demonstration garden at the fairgrounds, but it sounds like now they've got a lot of irons all across town with the parks departments and stuff, so. That's really just come about in the last, like, even when I wrote this agenda and I wrote my list of what needs to go on this agenda, I was still in the dark on some of that, and I've sorted some of that out since then, but
Yeah.
I thought it'd be good for you all to know that that's what's kind of going on. Okay, arena concert. So we talked, I've talked with the promoter about moving the date so that it would be that time when Brittany's in town and she can participate. He said that night that Fleetwood Mac tribute band is available. And he said, out of all of my shows, it's like, they're one of the ones that's like guaranteed to perform type of thing or to draw a crowd. And they're a little bit more, I think it's like 7,500 for them. And then he had a quote of like 3,500 for the sound and light. It's stuff that he can provide to us turnkey. And so asked him to send me that formal proposal so we can move on. And we'll need to start advertising and marketing that. So it'll
What's
be
the date for that
the 17th
of this month?
of May.
May.
You're like, huh?
No, and so that gives us 2.5 months or so. And there's a couple of events between now and then that will be helpful for us to market on site. I mean, even the Crab Fest is gonna be 2 weeks before that. That's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
CMH events the week before, that'll be another good opportunity to draw some folks in. He actually did a session at the conference last week, and so we heard quite a bit from him. One of the things that I had heard Eric comment on before was about Live Nation and how they've kind of messed up the music industry, and then he talked a little bit more about how Live Nation has messed up the music industry. I still don't fully understand the whole issue,
What
but
is Live Nation?
it's like a massive production company that's like partnered with Ticketmaster, and so they're soaking up all of these acts. And then they putting them on like radius requirements where they can't play at other places.
Yeah.
And so it's put a lot of promoters out of business. I don't know, there's a lot more to the story, but that's kind of the gist of what I understand so far. But I'd heard these comments a couple of times that Live Nation has caused problems for the music industry. And then you Google it and you look it up and it's just a list of articles talking about the same thing. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's brought a lot of music to a lot of folks, but it's made it harder for folks like us. And that might be some of the issues that we're having, I don't know, with, when we want to get a good act and now we're on number 5. Well,
Yeah.
we're not now, but, so another thing that I wanted to pitch, which he pitched to me, he has another guy that he partners with that can like make it like a laser light Fleetwood Mac show. So on the top rail, it's like, it would shine all over. He's like, that's something that could work pretty well in the stadium arena type setting that wouldn't work well in something like the Liberty Theater or like an outdoor arena, but it might be an added draw for us to
Yeah.
pitch it. Laser Fleetwood Mac. Fairgrounds. So I've asked him to send some, he actually, just since I sat down and got all this set up, he sent an email finally with the quote, so.
You got a bunch of rednecks with lasers and stuff going around.
Yeah. And, so, I mean, that's May 15th. I'm expecting us to wrap this up and be like posting this the end of the week, beginning of next week, and start to get some sales going.
How much are tickets gonna be?
Well, we gotta get a final number, but I'm thinking that $15 to $20
Good.
could be, that's, I'm talking. We're trying to figure out this, we want people to come.
Yeah.
And then Oregon Beverage will come?
Yes,
Mhm.
yep, yeah. And then
And then
to
the-
finalize it, I'll talk with Josh and we'll get it
Okay.
lined up,
You'll be here?
I'll be here for anything. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I'm pretty excited about it. There's some anxiety, like, will they show up? Will they enjoy it when they're here? Is it gonna be laid out properly or not? But
Yeah.
we gotta give it a shot to
I
find
know.
out.
Alcohol, food and lasers.
I mean.
What could go wrong?
What could
They
go
have
wrong?
$15 to $20 tickets, which is pretty.
And that's reasonable, yeah.
It's just getting people to know about it.
I think that's great.
Mhm.
Okay, we're a little ahead, that's good. Yeah, sporting acts, so like I had mentioned to you guys, the Chris Lane thing didn't work out, but then we still had an opportunity with Joe, it sounds
Yeah.
like, by the time he was able to connect with him. So we got confirmed with Joe. Now we need to talk about opening acts and which also, all of the production stuff, which leads to the Saturday Night Concert that we were talking about also. So today, like this evening even, I think I forwarded it to you today.
I saw that.
Eric has he said we'll do some mining for opening acts. And what is her name?
Jesse Lee?
No.
No?
It's the gal that's going to be playing at Watershed. And he says we should be able to get her for, what did he say here? Right here.
Like 6 grand or
Kathy
something, right?
Ashton said we should be able to get her for $6K plus we'll have to do backline, which is, the drum set and some instruments. Says typically she's in that $10,000 range, but since she's routed at Watershed already, we should be able to get her for that $6K. We don't really have anything in the pipeline, and this would get us to where we're done with this. It's another thing from stuff to listen and moving forward. If you want me to pull up some videos, we can watch it, but this is their website.
What's,
Crazy Girl,
what's her, can we hear? it?
Cassie Ashton. If it does play, it'll play through the speaker here.
I don't recognize the name, since when.
So those were her. I think that's a cover. This is,
Genie in a bottle.
I think it's a cover of the Genie in a Bottle.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I've heard her, yep.
You need to really play a note.
I knew it was right there.
I can call this in 4 notes.
Yep. I think she'll be good. She's on the radio a lot.
Says, yeah, she's gonna be good. I mean, that's right in our budget that we've done in the past years. Yeah.
No, I knew
we got
immediately.
This called Crazy is the other one. This is like her new single. Yeah.
I think she'll be good.
Okay. So if you guys are good with that, we can move forward with
Yep.
that, or we can vote on it later.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Good.
Where were we at next? Oh, and then for Saturday night, we've been talking Hispanic night.
Yes.
Sure, I mean, we have this group that wants to do the Mexican rodeo and the quinceañeras and stuff, but I haven't really been able to pin them down to like get them focused on, finding music. granted, some of that's been me waiting for us to get our main act and starting to go through our stage and sound quotes so that we know like how much extra it's gonna cost, but that was another one that Eric said that he could get us. She's gonna be playing. This band's gonna be playing in Deschutes on Sunday, but they would take our show on Friday. And it's a Selena tribute band
Friday or Saturday?
on Saturday, sorry, yeah. correct,
Saturday of the fair.
Saturday, yeah. She'd play our Saturday. And then she'd head to Deschutes for the show on Saturday, on Sunday. And it's a Selena tribute band, 7,500. And then we would still want to work with someone else to find another local opening act, type
Mhm.
Hispanic band. I think we could build on that,
Well, even Selena though, even though it's a Hispanic, I mean, she is very popular throughout
yeah.
everything.
And he said that their sales have been pretty good. Let me see, it's this Selena, the tribute, I'll pull it up here. Their band's actually called Los Chicos del 512. I don't know what that means, but,
Good with that.
512, so she's playing at Hillsborough, Ridgefield, at the casino, Washington County Fair. Ace Arena, what's that say? Does that say sold out? Or something, I don't know what that says. But he says she's done really well. I mean, it'd be something that sounds like has a crowd. I mean, I'm not in that community, so I don't know 100%, but it'd be, it should be relatively safe for us to tip our toes into it and it still be pretty family friendly.
Yeah.
And then again, finding another band to play for the opening. And then we could also kind of highlight some of the cheaper on the side stage throughout the day. It's like I had showed Callie when we had one of our entertainment meetings, I saw there was like Northwest Centro, I think that's what they're called. It's a local Hispanic cultural organization and they have like the authentic dancers, like the younger
Oh, yeah.
teenage dancers. We could get them on the stage maybe for an hour and they could do a program.
They,
I could see us
the,
building that on a Saturday.
Mhm.
Pretty
the
good.
high school used to have a cultural club. And they did the candy dance at a halftime, and it was so beautiful. The girls were all in their really fancy dresses, and at the end of the performance, they threw candy out. I don't know why it's called the candy, but I loved it. I think it's a good opportunity for us. But I do have a question, though.
Yeah,
Are we gonna move the car show across the street?
no, I think we can make it all work. Yeah.
Okay, so
Especially-
last year, there was not many cars.
Yeah,
The years prior, there was 3 times the cars.
Well, it sounds like West last year was unsure, and so they didn't
Oh,
promote nearly
okay.
as much as they did in years past because they were just kind of unsure about what was gonna happen, so.
something we can do with the Saturday concert is just make it all general admission and there's no
No seat.
reserve section. And so we get
Okay.
Carol and I. can-
Yeah, all the gates and stuff are down, yeah. that's
Bring your
good.
own chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we still have to have the front of house music fees blocked off, that's
yeah.
gonna have to have a section, but I think we can work around that.
Yeah,
This is
Okay.
that El Centro. I know this is hard to see, but you know. We could get them to come up and do a program. I'm sure they'd be happy to as long as they're available.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So, yeah. Sounds good. I'll work on making some of those things happen. Planning amendments. So this is where we've really got to decide next steps and some of it's just filling you in, but also letting you know where we're at in the process. We had a pre-app with planning and they brought in ODF, so Department of Forestry, Fish and Wildlife and state lands to talk about. Yeah, we were talking about just trying to get the motorized racing outdoors, the camping and the setback. Planning wanted to focus on like, okay, if you're gonna do something in that field, what are you gonna do? I was trying to highlight on the, like, we just wanna be able to do it anywhere on the property, but
As
we
in the
would.
planning
like-
commission,
What's that?
as in the planning commission.
Planning department. Land use. So Jay and Gail. And so we brainstormed with them and said, what are the potential issues? It sounded like with Fish and Wildlife, it was they were really only concerned if turbidities and impacts to the stream, and it's really past that point down. And I said, well, I don't think that that's really gonna be an issue for anything that we're talking about doing out there. That's not gonna be a problem. I mean, even if we were to have some muddy pits, it still wouldn't overflow into that. That wouldn't be a problem. The forestry, they don't really care about anything over there, but maybe the noise would be an issue, but they didn't comment anything on that.
Noise issue for who?
Like as being a neighbor and we have a bunch of racing going on.
Oh, we've never had complaints.
And then the state lands were, it was optimistic with the state lands, so it's questionable on that area of what's wetlands versus what's just floodplains. And then also the fact that it's an agricultural wetlands. Weird. There's even additional gray area, because really, once the event's done, we're gonna be tilling it up and we're gonna be replanting it into, a grass field, so that we get all this grasses off of it. And so really the big question then leads to, so during the event, if you were to bring in fill to actually produce the event, like if we were gonna do a rodeo event, we needed to put a good footing down, like, is that fill? And if we wanted to build jumps, is that fill? And so she said, you can get permits for that depending on what type of wetland it is, or if it isn't a wetland. And knowing that you're gonna restore it, you can get temporary permits, or I don't know if you can get a permanent permit either, but. So we will need to go through the application process in order to do all of that. I'm confident that we could get the motorized racing allowed no matter what, but the question is, can we do that grading basically just for the events? It sounded optimistic that it was doable. So they said they would want us to do a delineation, so that's one of the things that we'll have to do, is a wetland delineation to figure out which of those areas are wetlands versus which are just in the floodplains. So the areas that aren't in an actual wetland could potentially be done without a permit if it's under so many yards.
Yeah.
And then if it's over that, then, the permits are very expensive. They're a couple $100, but there's a time frame. You have to apply and you have to show them all of the things that we're gonna do. So that was positive, and that was from the conversation in the meeting. And then she followed up with some notes. And she said, well, the fairgrounds has actually had 3 fill permits in the past. And 2 of them appeared like they were for the animal shelter. Because all I could see was the title of the permit. I couldn't see the whole thing. But the 3rd one was for rodeo grading. And so she said, if you don't have copies of those, you'll need to do a records request to see what they are. But I feel like that's promising that they
Yeah.
We had
issued
2
us,
rodeos down there.
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah,
they
right over
issued
here.
us a permit in the past to do exactly what we're talking about doing. I think it's really promising.
Yeah.
We just need to continue through the process. So that's with those agencies piece. The other piece is we would still need to do like a public meeting for the neighbors. Like, they'd have to notice the public neighbors that we're gonna be considering doing this planning change. And see if, they're gonna have any issue with what we're.
Is that the rules or?
I think anytime you have
We've
a
never done
planning
that
change,
Mhm.
I'm sure they did when they built this place, they had a neighborhood meeting basically. Is what
Yeah,
it
my
was.
parents went to
It's,
that.
so and the real issue on that is the outdoor racing piece, and maybe the camping piece that they might have. They might wanna have an input on, but right now it says camping is part of an event or as an event itself. So not necessarily just regular camping all day long.
Do we have to do that when we have concerts? Cause our concerts are pretty loud, just as
Like
much
way
as
louder
racing.
than anything
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
have down
and
there.
I
think
That's fair.
It-
Or even the.
It's under a different
quinceañeras or-
classification.
It's a
Yes.
condition in the approval that says any motorized racing will be held outdoors. So that's really the area, like technically we could do the rodeo down there, but we're still in that gray area on the grading permit, which sounds like we knew in the past at some point since we had a permit. So I think it's good. It shows we're going through the process, and I tried to make the point to them, like, we're trying to be community partners. We want to do this right. We want to respect what they want and people. So that was the field. Yeah, the neighborhood meeting, it's up in the air. And we had all the complaints with the radio control airplane.
It was one lady.
And they have
But we haven't heard that any, and just because a particular neighbor
Like-
wants to complain, doesn't mean that they won't make the change,
Yeah.
especially if we tell them we're gonna do specific things like only during, so certain hours or only during certain events. It's not like we're talking about doing an event every
2 in the
week.
morning.
You're gonna talk louder with.
You're gonna talk louder with the furnace on.
Okay.
There you
Not like we're talking about having events every week, you know, we're talking about doing something at the fair and then maybe 1 or 2 other events, if we can make something happen. And they're like, well, why do you want to do this now? I said, well, there's public interest, people are coming to us and they want to.
What is the time frame for us if we start working on it now, and how long is that permit good for? Do we have to do this
So.
every year,
Getting
every couple years?
getting our conditions of approval
Mhm.
amended is permanent, so it's just going through that process. That would be a 3 to 6 month process, depending on how fast we can get all those things done. To get those permits, that's like, I think they administratively have 120 days where they have to issue it. But I think they often happen sooner. It depends on how complicated what we're doing is and what their workload looks like. So the third issue was the setback on this property line over here. And that basically takes us to the edge of the asphalt right here. So technically, we're not allowed to build anything in between that property line and the edge of this asphalt. So like 20 feet off the edge of this building. We still have to go through the process to know for sure, but the forestry officials indicated like he didn't think it would be an issue, like from the road to like where the stage is to get that reduced, but they would probably want to remain from their hub. And gave some insight that their intent is really like if it's a forest and they have all of these tall trees and they fall over, they don't want to be on the hook for damage that may happen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we talked like, is there waivers we could sign and then I also explained like this section here, there's a valley in between you and us, like there's a ravine and we're probably 50 feet higher than you are.
Yeah.
So, I think it was just something when it was originally built, forestry was a concern that there was gonna be a fairground built here and that was something their land use attorney got in at the time. But it sounds like they're open to it.
So is it 3 to 6 months from what date?
From the date that we apply.
Okay, so 6 months is July.
Yeah, so it's.
So if the
it's
county
not-
drags their bag, we don't have time.
Well, and I don't think it's in the cards for this fair.
No, it is.
Well, the
The
thing
county,
is.
no, the county commission at our planning work session said, we want you to do this at the fair and we will help you. Even Pamela Webb,
Yeah,
who is against doing
Well-
all that stuff, said she would help us.
you know, I think we could potentially get that approval, but we can't wait until that date to
That's why we
know
need to
if
get
we can
on
go
Gale
Yeah.
every
and then get
single
all
day.
Stuff lined up.
I'm tired of the hurry up and wait. I'm tired of it. Like, we have all this like, oh, we're talking about it, talking about it. We gotta stop talking about stuff.
The problem is to do things right, though. You have to go through the proper channels and do it. Yeah, you can do things the wrong way, which has been done in the past and just make things happen.
But
But,
are we asking for the people who have offered to help us to help us?
well, we gotta start the permit process and then we
Okay,
can
we
start.
need to
asking.
start it this week.
Yeah, well, we're going through it.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at here. So what does the board want to do? Before I went and actually made the application, I wanted to
We need to
just have a discussion with you all about it. Cause last thing I need to do is go and start this process and you guys be like, we don't want you to do that,
Yeah.
which I think you wanted me to do it, but it's.
We've been
important for me.
talking about it for months.
Right, and I've done the research and now I'm bringing it back to you.
Yeah.
So there will be a there'll be a neighborhood meeting at some point. I don't know when.
Next meeting. I'm requesting it on the agenda.
Well, they have to, that's something that's all scheduled through the planning department.
Yeah.
It's all land use law. Oregon's got funky land use laws. It's probably got the funkiest land use laws in the country.
Well, I think we need to move forward and get started on the permits, get started moving forward, try to get this fair, but no matter, I mean, we have to get going on this.
I'm really, really curious what that permit that we were issued in the past says.
Yeah, we'll get that pulled up and we'll start moving forward on it. Get the applications process started as soon as we can.
So the next one, community participation. This is one that I just wanted to touch with you all on because this is one of the things that like, if we want to get log trucks and businesses to bring equipment and stuff out, like, we need to have a conversation on who we're trying to approach, and if any of you all have particular contacts that we can rely on and assign those out to each other and try to get working on that, so that they have plenty of time to schedule for that. If we're talking Nygaard, even, all of these logging companies, Warrington Fiber, Hampton, I don't know who else,
JM Browning.
Browning, the Timber Unity folks, I don't know if that's a thing, that kind of fits our theme.
Dean Larson too.
So if we wanna divide and conquer and go out and start engaging these people and asking what they'd like to do, we have that whole section over there that had the carnival before that we can do anything we want with, we just need to have stuff to do it, otherwise we need to bag that concept and focus on what we have over here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, you guys have some thoughts you wanna brainstorm?
Yeah, I mean, we all have personal connections in those areas, I'd be more than happy to touch base with Nygaard Logging. Sit down and have a meeting with John and Dave and see if they can get some equipment out here. It'd be really cool to get like an old T-Bird, there's a few of them just sitting around in the community, those massive, big tower yarders, to get one out here and get it set up.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things I thought would be neat is like, if it was set up down there and we like actually drug some logs up and down the hillside
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, that might be cool.
Something that might be interested in running, if they're even operational. I know most of these people as well, but if you guys have better connections with them, because you've known them for years and years and years. I figured it was a great conversation to have, and it could really occupy a lot of space and could really be a lot for people to see
Yeah.
while they're here.
Maybe we start off with Nygaard, Browning, I don't know what they all have.
Hamptons.
Hamptons.
Big.
Mhm.
Jeremy said we could bring our big, good spar.
That's
Big tractor.
the tractor. Okay. Great.
Maybe Cammy and Nathaniel could bring some of their big equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll go. We basically had it here the day of the fair
Yeah.
anyways last year.
It's like, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, and then we know what's here that we can kind of build like some signage and stuff that explains the pieces of equipment and things like that, and try to get some info. I think this is one that I'll try to hit on every meeting between now and then, because I think it's one of the most important things we can really fill up. Like, and it's stuff that hopefully doesn't cost us too much money, like, we have so much budget to get the activities that we can get, it's this other stuff that's gonna be the other piece that engages our community that we have really great ideas, but we've just gotta close on them somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is the horse stalls. I figured we could walk out there and go look at them. And just kind of game plan on what you all are thinking versus what I might have in my mind, and we've got Sue here, she can chime in on what she has in mind, and. I've asked questions around, I haven't really got much answer back, but they've all said they're gonna go back to their groups and talk about it, but.
OET didn't want to be here, I know they're here for open.
I
Day.
haven't decided to come to the meeting yet, I talked to her about it, she said she was gonna discuss it at their next meeting. And then follow back up with me.
The two groups that only really benefit from the stalls are Friends of the Fair and 4-H, really, because those are the only two. So I think those two groups, are the ones that use them the most. So I'm glad that you guys are here.
Yeah, and we're budgeting for it, so if it's something we can start working on with, preparing for the budget on July 1st. Getting on the page, because this has the potential to be one of those issues that people could be really happy with or could be really upset with. We're gonna walk out.
Yeah.
Obviously I won't be out there, but Brittany, you and I think have the same thought process on it, so.
Want me to FaceTime you?
What was that?
Like me to FaceTime you?
That's okay.
Don't trip on
I'm gonna pause it, Mallory.
No worries.
from the field visit there, Mallory?
So I think talking to Sue, I like doing barn A.
Finishing barn.
Finishing barn A, B will be a discussion for the following 25. And C, gutting it, and if they need it for Friends of the Fair, maybe looking at renting portable stalls that just stay up for those 2 months. And then send them back when we're done.
So
I agree. That's exactly what I thought.
I think it'd be smart to look into cost of renting if we do that, because if renting is gonna be just outrageous, getting them here,
Yeah,
then that might not be a very viable option.
yeah.
So what I can do is I'll reach out to Candy, with OSEC, because we get, for our state meetings, we always do portable stalls. And I think at 4-H, at state, are those portable stalls at Salem, are those
I've
permanent?
never been there
Okay.
as close as I
The ones that are out for the horses, I mean, do they just stay out there, those portable ones, or,
couldn't.
okay, I'll try to find that out.
We'll ask for Candy, but she doesn't.
I'll ask, yeah, she does both, so I'll just ask Candy about
I was
that.
gonna say, see the horse.
Was
she
there,
just likes that.
did we count the number? Are you talking about the entire barn C, the barn A, or just the front of barn?
I think we try to do all of A. Just see what it's gonna be, cause like Matt said, your calculations was, I like, way cheaper.
Well,
Just because you like them doesn't mean it's right.
I
But you
know,
also
but
have to
makes
do
sense.
bigger stalls for the back.
And do
building.
bigger stalls in the back, so you do the 10x10s in the front, and then those few in the back are the 12x12s, because it is really hard when you have a horse that's 16 plus to get into those 10x10s, it's really hard.
what would your thought be on like 10x12s on one side and 12x12s on the other? That way you're only taking 2 feet off of the existing aisle. I don't know if that's a big deal, if how narrow the aisle.
It all depends on, like in 4-H, it just depends on if they're saddling their horses in the aisleway, and you have people going, you know, if you have 2 horses in the aisleway, butt to butt, and you're trying to get somebody to go down the aisleway, it can add, and if you've taken 4 feet or 2
Yeah.
feet, it can be a lot.
Well, they just saddle in their stall then.
But
Some
if it's a
can,
12x12,
some can't though. Yeah, like I know my horse Bo, there's no way he came flying out of those stalls just because he was so crazy to get trapped.
So just to redo the stall fronts is only. They're not old numbers, but around $1,000 for a stall front. It's when you're redoing, you know, the sides too, that you're adding a price on. If we're just wanting to redo those ones in the front and put new fronts on, just beg the counter. If we're gonna expand them, I think we can use the same materials we have, but we'll just have to, it'll take more effort to tear everything down and
Move it,
salvage it, move it all.
I do like that we do need to pressure wash and sandblast those, because those metal rods are, it's not good for those horses to be chewing on any of that flaky stuff.
I had talked with
At all.
Kelly about going to Harbor Freight and buying a sandblaster, a little portable sandblaster, and
Okay.
knocking it out.
Yeah.
I will reach out to Candy and stuff and talk to her and then get back to everybody next meeting.
And yeah, hopefully OET gets back to me, said they were gonna have some discussion about it, follow up. And now we've had a conversation and we can tell them, well, the direction that we think we're going and go from there. I mean, it's y'all's decision, but we're trying to make sure everybody's involved. Yeah, seeing about rentals, are there other fairgrounds that aren't using their stalls in the summer or in the spring that we can rent them from?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That might be an
The
opportunity.
shoots had a ton of them just sitting out.
And that's where
They had
Candy is.
like 3 of their barns full already set up, so they
If,
might have.
if they can generate some revenue off of something that they're not using, they might be really open to it.
It's just a matter of if we have to go pick up and bring back. That
Yeah.
would be so I'll ask Candy, because she's in charge. That's where her office is at just Shoots County Fairgrounds. I'll ask her.
Okay, is there anything else for the work session?
Get a little recess here.
March 5th. March 5th Fair Board meeting to order. Everybody's here except for, is Sarah on?
Yeah.
Except for Sarah. And we have Mallory online. So we're gonna go over the agenda. Does anybody have anything that, they would like to see changed on the agenda? Everyone's okay?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second it.
Okay, agenda has been approved. Public comment at this time, anyone wishing to address the fair board concerning items of interest on or off the agenda may do so. The person addressing the fair board will, when recognized, give their name and address for the record. All remarks will be addressed to the whole board and limited 3 minutes per person. Fair board members reserve the right to delay any action if required until such time when they are fully informed and the matter is scheduled as an agenda item. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay. Our first item is gonna be our consent calendar. Looking at the
So,
camping rules.
Normally you would just, approve the calendar and be done. You wouldn't really talk about the items unless you had a particular question.
Okay,
One of the things that occurred to me when I was reading this afterwards was at the last meeting, you guys decided that you didn't want to do the wristband, and I did not make that change. And so when you approve it, I think you just would want to say, have me strike any language about the wristbands out of the rules.
For the camping or the?
Yeah, you said you just wanted a parking pass, you didn't want to do the wristbands.
No, we don't want to have kids up here have to have a wristband to go down and eat.
yeah, we want to keep wristbands for the campground.
Okay.
And so coming in through the road is wristbands only.
Okay.
Wristbands and parking pass, but coming from the
Walking
top
down
of the hill, we want family and friends to be able to go down and eat with people and
Okay,
have their gatherings for the 4-H
but
club.
not be able to come in the gate without a
Not
wristband.
be able to come in the gates without a wristband.
Or parking.
Okay, well then we can pass it as it is.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the camping rules.
Or just the consent calendar.
I make a
consent
motion to
calendar.
approve the consent calendar.
I second it.
Okay. Motion has been, or
All in favor?
motion. It has been. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion approved, motion passes.
So now this is the approval of the handbook. Or am I jumping ahead?
We're doing event.
No, I'm on board and management report, sorry.
Camping rules.
Board members,
Sign vendor first.
board member reports, manager report.
Yeah,
that's
board
what-
member reports.
That where we're at next?
No,
Yeah.
we have to do camping rules in the minute.
No, you just approve those with the consent.
No, we,
Oh, with the consent calendar.
yes, we approve with the consent.
Okay.
Okay, so does any of the board members have anything that they're working on that they'd like to report to the board or Kyle?
Nope, just the May 17th, we're moving forward on that, so.
I'm excited about that.
Mhm.
Mallory, do you have anything for the board?
If I could unmute myself, sorry. No, I do not. Thank you.
And neither do I. Okay, moving on to manager's report.
Yeah, it's been busy. I mean, we had 2 special meetings last month, right? We got the budget done and then went to a conference and both Kelly and Kristen went to the conference.
Okay.
It was really great opportunity. I was really shocked that Kelly wanted to go. And I think he got something out of it. I think, just kind of like you had when you went to the OFA convention.
Yeah.
Seeing how much more to the industry there is than just, the fair and, what we get stuck in the weeds doing
Yeah.
every day. So I was really appreciative that we were all there as a team and, we made lots of networking and, got to sit in some good sessions. There was some great stuff on sponsorships and marketing that I think is really gonna help us with the fair this year specifically, so that was great. Talking about, they provided, the gal had some worksheets and those folks on marketing and well, on the sponsorship, like identifying, all of the assets that we have to, request sponsorships on, talking about like not putting yourself in a box and just saying, this is it, take it or leave it, this is all we want from you. Talking with your sponsors about what they want to provide is a good point too, not just saying this is all, that's it, like trying to find something with these sponsors that fits with their mission also.
Did you get a handbook? Were you able to grab?
We
one
have
of those?
some, we have some of the stuff, Kristen had actually purchased them in the past, so she already had them.
Okay,
And then they had some free resources that they sent us some links today, and it's, we've been kind of sorting through all of the follow-up emails that they've been sending, while also trying to get caught up from being gone for 2.5 days.
it'd be nice to get some of those forwarded to us so that we could even look at it. So when we are talking to sponsors that, just to see
Yeah.
what their ideas are.
So that was the other two big parts that I appreciated, and I only got to sit in the one sponsorship class, there were a couple. The other was inventorying your prospects, like what are the businesses and trying to identify their needs. And what they've done in the past. And then, having a good game plan for staying on top of them. They said on average, it's 7 contacts with a sponsor before you get them to the yes. It's like, that's a lot. She goes, you might have the person that's like the first time you talk to them or the second time you talk to them. But on average, they found that it's about 7 times before you're actually done. So it's labor intensive to be an effective sponsorship driver person. The trade show was good. There were some vendors there that we work with already, like the folks that I think will be going towards the security were there, so I was able to talk with him. A guy that we've gotten a stage from in the past was there, Stages Northwest. We didn't use them last year, but he was there and we were able to discuss with him. Some other options for like side stage rentals and just general fair equipment, tents and stuff rentals, so. There was good opportunities there, more for services. There really wasn't a lot of like. Vendors, like not what I would say, entertainment, like, representation at this one. They had, Hula Hoop Gal and they had like a production company, like an agency was there. And there were some individual performers that were there as attendees, but they weren't there like at the show or whatever, so. It was good to make some contacts with them. Overall, it was a good conference. It was local and easy to go to, so it's always nice. For the fair, just an update where we are. We got the concert with Joe Nichols, so that's great. And now that we have that, those things are gonna start snapping in place. I know the last week and a half or so, between all the work I've been doing with the budget and trying to get this meeting lined up. And then being at the conference, I haven't been able to focus and follow up on a lot of these irons I have, but I'm excited for tomorrow where I can get back on track and do a lot more work, but just already there's a half a dozen vendors to follow up with, quotes that we have out. We've got some contracts finalized. We do need to be shifting gears now into that marketing and sponsorship piece of that after we get this vendor application announced. That's really one of the next big steps is to start hammering on that. We're reached out to talk about ice, like potentially having ice on site. It sounds like there's an option that we can work with a company to like buy pallets of ice and they have like a trailer. That they could like a freezer trailer that they can have on site. I don't know if that's something that the vendors will want or not, but it definitely seemed like a big issue last year, that if that's a service we could provide, that might make things easier for everybody.
Can you talk a little louder? I can't hear you at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
So would we be charging them for the ice? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
We'd buy the ice and then we'd be selling them ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. In a perfect world, like we have enough storage and they could just buy their own ice and store it and stage it, but I'm not sure if we'll have that capacity.
Yeah.
But I know most fairs are sending ice.
Yeah.
To their vendors,
Oh,
and they
sounds-
don't necessarily have the capacity to generate the ice, so.
Yeah.
The American Idol thing, again, for the talent show, I know they told us about that like way late last year. Like, I wanna say it was well into May when they said American Idol at the state fair, use your talent shows to get people in. They've already announced that. He says in the next week or so, they'll be sending that out. So I think that's something cool that we can add into our program, to pitch. The state fair manager was also at the conference, and I had told her, as I've been talking with these art groups, if we're gonna have this exhibit. I know that they have like a whole pavilion that's just full of art. It's not necessarily the full community competition stuff. It's just art. I don't really know what their program is, if it is just meant for art. But, said it'd be great if there was a way that this was a path that we could get these local artists they're not necessarily amateurs, they're professionals. That I don't think they necessarily qualified to enter into the community competitions. That they could then have a map or path to get into the state fair. So I have a phone call scheduled with her superintendent or whatever they call her, that does that for tomorrow at 11. And then that Arts Coalition has put me in touch with one of the local studios. Can't remember what she said it was. It's one of these art studios that's like upstairs in a loft.
The art walk,
What's that?
art walk.
That sounds like it. And that lady called, I have her contacts and everything. She's really excited about championing that whole project for us for the fair. So I think those are some cool things we're engaging the community in.
Yeah.
Also finding something to take up some floor space for us. Been in touch with all of these groups over this last month. This is a question, I think, figuring out how to do it. Raina, I don't know her last name. Graham. Yeah.
Oh.
Raina Herzog, there you go. I had R or something in my, she has started up another horse group and she's asked about practicing in the outdoor arena. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just, I said, we don't have a policy for that, for horse groups to come in.
One thing, she needs to be prepared though, I know it was stormy that night we were supposed to, practice out there. But just to be aware that she probably wants to come out here a little bit beforehand to
Yeah.
make sure that that arena is. Okay, we came out the night after and I was so thankful for the archery club to let us share the arena because there was no way we could even do our outside practice because the arena was flooded at least 5 feet in, and there was branches going, there was horses that were, and I was like, this isn't gonna work. So thankfully, the archery gentleman, I forgot his name, he was super nice. Dusty, he was awesome, and he let us go in and we did practices together. The horses did not budge at all about the whistle or them shooting. It was great because that arena was horrible outside.
Okay.
So if it's stormy out, I would tell her if it's raining, I wouldn't bother practicing out there, honestly, because it was bad. It was slick, really slick, so it would have been dangerous for everybody.
I thought she was gonna practice when they had the open rides.
And so I had asked her that and I told her, we don't have a policy. I think her best course initially, until I could connect with you all, was to come with open rides, but she said they don't want them up and off of their horses during the open rides.
Yeah, they don't want them doing showmanship as they're trying to ride,
Oh,
is what it would be.
So, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know what we would want to do as far as it's gonna require us more staff time to be prepared for them all. And then if the other groups want to come in and then having to do all this coordination with them. But if we want to work on a policy, if that's what you guys want me to work on, I can do that.
I think for now, just let them, if she wants to use the outdoor arena, for me, the answer is yes, let them use it and
Okay.
Just,
go from there.
yeah. And just maybe to let them know when you're coming, I mean, are they expecting you to have it groomed and ready to go every
Yeah.
time? You know what I mean? So,
I don't know at this point.
yeah.
You never know. And it's another person I'll have to coordinate with when we have conflicting events, to just make sure that they're not coming out when we have something happening. If we could get to where our calendar is all online, I think that's the goal that I'd like to have. Our rental calendar is just all on there, even when people are calling us to rent. They can go and they can see the calendar on the website and see if it's open or not.
That'd be
Without
helpful.
us having to pick up the phone and talk to them, it would save them some time and save us some time. And it would also be helpful for these types of situations, like OET, y'all need to keep track and make sure we don't have another event planned.
Mhm.
When you would already be in open rides. Okay. FFA sent a request for the MOU, so I will review that and then have a follow-up meeting. I think she CC'd both of you all on that. And then she came out, and we did a walkthrough to prepare for the banquet. We've got some ideas in mind. Yeah, and so I'll continue to work on that, and we'll get a draft MOU together and bring it out.
Is there heat in that arena?
There's those overhead heaters,
Cause
that are
me,
just
I would
the
be very cold in there.
yeah.
You-
Those heaters.
I will say that you might want to make sure that Kelly didn't turn them down, because I know at the last Friends of the Fair, they were turned on, but there was nothing coming from them.
Yeah, and we were trying to see what was happening with them, and I don't know if they got hotter before. I feel like they used to get red.
They did. Yeah,
And there's
They
not
did,
really,
they definitely did.
there's not a way to like turn the temperatures of the units up and down. It's just the thermostat for the area. They're either on or they're off until the area gets warm. But one of the things that I was curious about, like, I had it running and I went up on the one end and it didn't feel like the other one was very hot. So it's like, it blows through it. I'm wondering if like the vents might have bird's nests or something, or.
Yeah,
And so I do want to have those serviced and get them operating like they're supposed to. The other thing that we talked about is All Rents has some electric heat that would plug into like our spider connections. And, what I think we'll do is go down there and look at the units that they have and see if any of those look like they are what we would want to have available for events.
So I
Make
think
sure.
We are, as an alumni, requesting portable heaters regardless, because we cannot run the risk of not having heat for people's grandparents.
That's why it's too cold in there.
Yeah.
It needs to be heated.
So we, as the alumni talked about it at our last meeting, am I allowed to say that?
You
said-
so, yeah, yeah,
That we want portable heaters regardless, because
yeah.
we don't, if the ones All Rents has, it's not like we have another place to rent them from at the last minute.
Yeah.
Right, and we wanna make sure that we know what, like, they're just telling me they have heaters and they're like, we have one that takes 2 circuits and one that takes 1 circuit. We're gonna need to go look at these and
Yeah.
see what it's gonna take to set up.
Well, we definitely need to have them looked at anyways. The
Yeah.
heaters in there just to see.
Yeah. I know they're really rusty. I don't know if that could be an issue. Like, do those tubes need to be maintained so that they stay warm? I don't know much about those types of heaters, but it's on our radar to be working on. And yeah, you don't know. I mean, we don't know if it's gonna be hot. We don't know if it's gonna be cold at that
If
time.
it's something like now, I'd be
Right.
not happy trying to do a dinner in there.
I know that last year on that date was really freaking hot, but you can't guarantee that.
yeah.
Like, we wanted to turn the fans on in there, but we were a little nervous to turn them on when all of the crab fest stuff was set up and have it just start blowing everything all over the place, but it was hot. People were uncomfortable. And that's one of those things we talked about for your event. Like, is it better to have a rainy day for an event out here or a hot day?
Yeah.
Does it turn people away to have a hot event? You know, like crab fest, did less people come because it was so nice outside and they wanted to go do other stuff. The Wishing Tree has sent a letter making a request, and so we'll need to get them on the agenda to come in and have a discussion about that. I think like we talked after the event last time, one of the things we should make clear that like, we want some good acknowledgement as part of your program.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for them to come in and talk to us about how they did and what they want to do every year.
Yeah.
And then, Loco, I haven't sent them notice yet, but I did have a conversation with them that we wanna reevaluate that agreement. Say, we're not gonna kick them out, we're not gonna charge them any less, but we wanna have a conversation with you all about where we're at with your agreement. And then auction committee, I haven't been in touch, but they called 4-H asking about using the outdoor arena for the small animal weigh-in. Told them I was open to hearing what they had to say, but I know they did it out there before.
That's for spring roll.
Apparently they called Kelly and Kelly was like, oh, it won't be a problem, but Kelly didn't know what we have going on
Yeah.
that day, so I'll have to follow up with them.
What is that the diamond?
That's the
derby up
Diamond
here?
Derby. It's, so
Yeah.
they're starting their VIP early or whatever, pre-party at noon in the Dairy Barn. And so,
So where do they want to have the weigh-in?
It's gonna be in the parking lot, isn't it?
well.
Well, we're just,
Oh.
But they were requesting to do it on the outdoor arena.
yeah,
And so I'm just not sure how that will work with the train of cars.
Well,
When
plus-
there's a VIP pre-thing going on.
Plus you have FFA up here. I think that's asking a lot to put them in that arena.
I'm in the outdoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how they were planning on, I think he was saying, like,
Well, how would they get in the outdoor arena?
they were gonna
You'd-
use
You'd be
the,
able to do it. You'd be able to drive up and drive in and make a loop and come back out.
It's soaking wet.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
not-
cars
I'm
It's
getting
just
also
saying
not level for a scale.
It's doable. I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
great idea. I'm just saying
It's
it's
a terrible
doable.
it
idea.
sounded like what Kelly was talking was like the ramp we put up for going in, like when you come out the indoor arena and then go into the outdoor arena. Having that ramp and then like offloading there and then having them walk through and then unload.
I think
out the
that-
other door.
No way.
I say no, just because you have this going on, that going on, and I just,
Yeah, like I
It's-
said, I told him I was open to hearing from them, I
The
think
only problem with this spring weigh-in with those ones is it takes all day. It's not beef weigh-in. It's not 7 to 10 and you're done. It's I mean, it's all day and you have a line all day. Even if you get there at 5 o'clock in the morning, I feel like you're still in a line.
we can't have a line when we have CMH coming in here to do this.
There's
and then
no, yeah, there's no way.
You're asking for,
We
Yeah,
also
that's,
have
that's too
kids
much up here.
who are not always
Yeah.
well behaved.
so.
for loose animals.
Yeah, I told him I was open to hearing from him, then he talked to Kelly and it sounded like Kelly cause of course he didn't know, so.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to backtrack on him a little, so I just kinda wanna let you all know, like, we'll see what that.
Well, it's not gonna happen up here.
Yeah, there's no way.
What's
Yeah,
the problem,
that's-
what's the concern about the gravel parking lot?
I don't think there was any concern. Jack talked to me about this on, at one of our shoots. The concern was it was just hauling all the stuff over there. And he figured it would be easier for Kelly just to do it over here. But it really doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. And so,
Yep. So the other stuff, just to quickly touch on these, I'm gonna be doing the RFPs for the roof and the strategic plan. Those are the top of my priority list to get done. We submitted for the money, for the COVID relief money, so we should anticipate that. I kind of went over that in the budget.
Yeah.
I got a call from the emergency manager at the end of last week. It said there is a potential for a different grant opportunity to have like a cash for like emergency response. Like, there's all kinds of different options that are available, from water purification systems, to water caches, to, so he said if that's something that we would be interested in applying for, we could potentially have a good opportunity to get some money for those things. So I need to look into that a little. You know, if Cascadia hits, we will likely be called upon to
Yeah.
be some type of staging or evacuation, if it's either for citizens or emergency responders or whatever, so it wouldn't hurt to have something like that. Then one of the things I would like to address, I hinted at it at one of my updates recently about the alcohol policy, on if we wanna continue, allowing people to do their own alcohol for events, or if we wanna go towards an exclusive right to, you're gonna use our beverage service or our people, and let them have an annual license for the facility. It could reduce our liability a lot, and it could also help us get more consistent revenue. I think it's kind of hit and miss, and we made a flow chart that I'll send to you as we go through this a little bit more about just the discrepancy between any two different groups on how they've been treated. And it's based off of what they've had happen in the past. It's like, we gotta get some consistency. One of the things to sort out is just knowing that these events need some of that revenue to make their event happen. Like, they can't do it without
Yeah.
having some of that revenue. I did have some of those discussions this last week at the conference with some of the other fair managers. They were basically like, if you get that percentage, like, you can do whatever you want with the percentage that you get. So working with the groups to say we're gonna split it, or I think it's something we need to get clear, because it's a conversation with every separate group on how they're gonna be treated, and it's not straightforward for every group. It'd be great to just say, black and white, this is what it is. It's not have to negotiate this with every individual party. But it's something I'd like to talk about in future meetings. That's my pick.
okay. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you, the alcohol, I see a benefit to both sides, I think that you know, having whoever we choose to make just for the sole person to do all the events here. You know, I see that benefit for us, but I see a big benefit for like the Ducks Unlimited that just happened out here. You know, that was a pretty cool event.
Yeah.
And having them run, and then all that money just goes right back to the benefit.
Well, they
You know.
still pay us.
Well, yeah, they get a percentage of it, but, I don't know.
Definitely a discussion.
Yeah.
You know, they have a cost that they're paying for it also, like,
Yeah.
one at the end of, the big question is, at the end of the event, how much of that goes to the event? How much of it goes to the bartender or whatever, at any rate.
Yeah.
You know, there's some specific groups that maybe they have all volunteer and it's all donated, and, you know, that's where there's all these different, so, how is it handled? But I think one of the main things that we've seen is that, like, are we getting true numbers from each of the separate groups?
Yeah.
On what their actual flows were. That's one of the hard things. Some of the groups feel really good about the numbers they give us. Some of the other groups I don't feel really good about the numbers they give.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just trusting
Yeah,
whatever they say, right?
and then there's a big level of liability.
Yeah.
And that's what most facilities have gone to, where we either have, this is the group, or maybe there's a handful of group vendors that have it. Another really great, benefit of it is then that company can get a license for the full year. They're not having to license each individual event,
Yeah.
but those are all the things to discuss.
Before, no, I hear you.
Yeah, give him a mic, yes, I have a mic.
Well, it's fine until that thing turns on.
I know.
You're still pretty quiet.
Okay, down to the business agenda. We need to go over and approve the vendor handbook and application.
Yeah. We took the notes that you all gave me at the meeting and went through. I think I accomplished all of the stuff that you had. We got the hours. We got the prohibited items. We got the, you know, the requirements on all them, and then the cost for the booths. Those were the main points. And then we gave you the examples of what the online application would be for. So, you know, ideally, we would have been working on this quite a while ago. We would have had a special work session to go over it.
Yeah.
But at this point, we gotta get this out.
We gotta get it.
So, just put it straight into the business items. Following the concept of how our meetings are likely to be doing, this would just be something we talk about at a work session. Then it'd just be boom, approved at the next meeting. So. Yeah, this map will change as we get the fair more planned, but this is a pretty good concept of what we have.
What are you expecting under, what are your prices on the actual application? Are you just like looking for a price list of all of their items, or?
Oh, so like their menu, you know, like we wanna make sure that somebody's not gonna be coming in and selling a $50 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
A $50 meal. The other is just having a good idea of what they're selling. That's really the main goal. It's like,
Yeah.
how do we know what they have so that we can make sure we don't have too much of the same thing? Which that was the one question, like, as we get through this, that, I had a note to talk about, is like the approval process. We haven't really hit on that. Once we get all of these applications in, do you want Kristen and I to make these decisions on who's approved or not approved, or we wanna have the full board do it, or we just wanna have the vendor committee do it? But it is definitely suggested and recommended that it's not all on one person to make those decisions, because it helps deal with the conflicts that are inevitably gonna happen with the fair, with a vendor that says, well, why was I turned away? Or why was he picked and not me? And,
Yeah.
Well, as a team, we evaluated the applications and decided that this is what we wanted.
One of the things that I think we need to change is that people need to also be able to talk to Kristen, not just the fair manager, if they have an issue, because you're not always available.
Yeah,
Nor should you have to deal with everything that comes up. If she's in the office and there is an issue, she should have the authority to make a decision.
did you have a specific line that you were referring to?
I marked it on my one at home, but I can't. There was something that said all vendors will report to the fair manager or,
I can look for it, often, like, on page 5 out of 16, like, says the decision of the county fair management or designated representative. And so if there's some other spots in there that we need to add that designated representative, we can do that, that's easy, and that's common. There might be something particular, like the prohibited items is left to the fair manager, but we wouldn't wanna put that on Kristen's
Yeah.
shoulders to make a decision like, oh, you can't have that. But yeah, I think she needs to be able to make decisions. Yeah, there's gonna be times when I'll have to be on site, I'll have to run to the bank and
Yeah.
get more cash
Right.
or whatever.
it's this, it says
Yeah, we
coordination with the
definitely-
fair manager.
Where you at? What page?
On page 6, the point of contact for the Clatsop County Fair is the fair manager. The fair manager is authorized by Clatsop County to oversee the activities, yada, yada, yada.
It's under coordination,
Yeah.
coordinate.
I can add or designee right there.
Yeah.
Definitely good to have a backup. We looked through a lot of it, like on electrical fees, seeing what other places are doing, and we just really felt that at this point in time, when we're rebuilding our fair without, figuring out what our fair looks like without a carnival, like now's not the time to be adding extra fees onto people.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of industry standard, we're not there
We wanna build this
right now. Tried to give them as specific information as I could about our electrical connections. I'm sure it's still gonna be a problem. One of the things we will plan to do is have some adapters available for them to buy. Cause a lot of them wanna show up and they want us to just let them use one, and we only have so many.
So with that, like last year and the year before, the sheriff's department, for instance,
Yeah.
they needed cords, and luckily my son's father-in-law is Tony Boak, and I'm
Yeah.
like, Tony, this is what we need. He's like, I'll have one of my people bring it out. We should not be doing that. We need to have stuff covered because Tony did a lot of favors
Yeah.
with me just calling
Well,
and
it-
stuff, and they either need to have it or we need to have it, cause
That's
there was
why we
cords. and-
spelled this out in this
Yeah.
section more clear, cause it wasn't in there, and, we can only have so many, you can't have one, I can't have an adapter for every single vendor.
Right.
That's going to be here. And so we were gonna have some of them available, set to purchase, and then when then they have it. It's theirs, and then the next year, they're not back here asking us for a loaner again. And we're not trying to make money off of them, we're just trying to have them available to them with
Yeah.
also not having to worry about getting it back.
Well, yeah, and it stinks when you're like, they need to set up and you can't, and then you're having to call and you have to wait a half hour, 45 minutes to get somebody out here to deliver.
Yeah, and I put in here, it's typical spider box connection, I even put the model, it's a 50 amp locking caliper style CS 63 plug. If you were to go to an electrician and say that's the plug you need, they'd be able to get it. for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah,
No clue what I was talking about, but.
right.
The one thing too, let's say for food vendors. I think that the food vendors should have to bring the sales, I didn't read all that, to the office. Cause it's a pain. Like the last, I mean, even last year, I mean, we're slammed in the office and I was helping Kristen go get the slips from them, but it's, as a business owner too, you don't wanna be giving out your sales or writing down when you have customers there. It's none of the customer's business on what sales you've done for the day, or, cause they overhear, they see you writing it down. So it'd be really nice if there's a way for the vendors to bring those to the office. Even if there's a box outside or something where they can just slip it in, so that you're not in the morning, when you're running around. You don't have time to go stand, and then when they have a line of like 10 waiting for a coffee and you're standing there like, okay, and you're spending over an hour trying to get those slips, I think that's. We need to have a better system for that.
I think we
because-
What
also.
if they were to take a, oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just
Right.
gonna say, what if they were to take a picture and text it to her or email it or something like that too?
Yeah, something, cause last year it was, and then sometimes they're like, they're so busy, and then we get busy, and then you're like, oh
Yeah.
crud, for the day, I need both your slips, and then it just turns into chaos, so there needs to be a better way to do that.
Yeah, because right now the registry must be provided at the close of the business day, daily. And so are we gonna be there at 10 o'clock to accept?
Right? Well, we are.
We are.
Yeah.
But we should have like
Like
even a mailbox type thing where they can just,
Well, you have your suggestion box on the. door.
yeah, something where they can put it in there, so you don't have to wait for
This
this.
is some language we put in here that was that other fairs use that we haven't had in the past.
Yeah.
A $300 penalty will be charged if not reported. And so hopefully that's one of those things that you never have to use, but it's having it shown there that's like, you don't give us your thing and we gotta come and ask you 15 times.
It's gonna be a problem.
But it's always been in the past, unfortunately, that the office goes booth to booth asking for those slips, because I've done it the last few years. And it's a pain, because they're open and they don't come until almost opening, so you're asking and then. And
Maybe that's another note that we do, must bring registration to 4-H or the 4-H fairgrounds office.
Yeah.
At the end of the
And
day.
then, I don't have that in here, but when I sent you all this packet, the managers update, there was another section with our vendor process.
Okay,
And it's like what we're gonna give them when, when they come to get their vendor packets with their badges and their instructions or whatever for the actual fair, their assignment and all of that.
it just seems.
We can make sure that that information's in there too, like you need to be providing this in this Dropbox to the manager's office every for the day.
Doesn't have anything to do with this, just a side note. I think that she needs a volunteer in the office, especially in the morning. Solely for kids that have lost their wristband or
Yes.
things like that, that she just has a helper, like sitting at a little table that's like, I've lost my wristband, so she can deal with this stuff and the volunteer can get replacement wristbands or concert ticket, whatever that might be. So I think it's important that we have a volunteer, especially in the morning.
Yeah, in the mornings, because that's when you are having people come up with the wristbands or just random questions that you're having to take time out from doing what you need to do for that. So yeah, no, that's a great idea.
And starting a little later should help some, right? Because we're gonna start at 11.
We are opening, the vendors are gonna open at 11. The gates will be open for people to come in. The vendors just don't have to open until later,
Like,
if they don't want to.
and like the music and all that stuff's not gonna start till 11, but we're gonna open admission so that they can come in and participate in the 4-H activity.
Right. So I'm sure people like ML Express or the coffee, they'll be open,
Yeah.
but like, burgers and stuff might not be open until lunch.
What,
Yeah,
what time is
So then
it
that's
there
perfect.
closing?
it's all on our packet here. It's,
Sorry.
and once we get this, we get this announced here.
Just so. Okay, because I have another question, but I can ask after.
11 to 9, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 to 10, Friday, 10 to 10 on Saturday.
Oh, is that gonna be for the people?
It's
moving
only for
house?
vendors.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we're just talking vendors.
Okay,
Yep.
so, Tom still have his normal
Yeah.
hours, people mover, 10 to 10, okay. Okay, that's what I wanted, he needs to know that.
We're hoping that, that was off of feedback, a lot of feedback from the vendors. Like it's so slow for them for so much of the day. They want to get the business into their hours, and then being forced to stay open till 10 o'clock on those first day first 3 days of the week when there was just nobody here after 9 o'clock.
I know was it the year before we had vendors that were closing at 5, remember?
Yeah.
They're like, it's slow, we're just gonna go, and I'm like,
Yeah,
and because we had none of this.
yeah, exactly. And you know, this is gonna be something to build on, like, as we have issues, we can edit it for the following years. But we have something to build on moving.
Good starting point. Okay. We need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the vendor information handbook, but with the changes of putting Kristen on page 6 for the coordination with fair manager, that she could be added to that. And also the change of the slips, the sales slips to be brought to the office in a timely manner. Does that work?
Yeah.
I second.
Okay. All opposed? All in favor?
I,
Okay, motion carries. Next, is security RFP and proposals.
Yes. So we did the RFP for security. We had 3 firms submit them. I didn't put all of them in the packet after evaluating, just because this packet is already 50 pages deep,
Yeah.
but I sent you all the other, based off of looking at them, like, this was really the only viable option. The other groups were in the $60 to $100 per hour for security service for their manpower, so it's couldn't do that. And that being said too, like, these people have been here before and they're more of an event security company versus the others that they do event security, but they seem like they're more like property security companies. I think those other groups would have been fine with it, just it would be $100,000 for us to have
Yeah.
security, and we're not doing that. So if you want to go through these, let's, yeah.
So real quick with the medical services where it says first aid station management, incident reporting, are they gonna have like a booth for that? Or is that just strictly like someone
Which
got
page are
injured
you
on page 43?
So that's just an example of the
Okay.
services that they have.
Okay,
And the way we did this was just like, tell us about your experience and then tell us about the types of solutions you have and let us know that you understand what a fair, how to do a fair. Said, and then once we have a concrete idea of what we need for manpower, because we still aren't 100% on. This isn't the contract, this is the firm we're gonna negotiate with for a contract. How many ticket guards do we need? How many admission booths? How many alcohol monitors? Like, which we don't have to do alcohol monitors, that's for the other folks, but I don't think that they would be doing the first aid booth,
okay.
but they would definitely be responding to incidences and helping people.
'Cause
get
I
to the first
know-
aid booth.
Forgot his name last year, the tall guy,
Troy,
Troy. He would report to us every day, like, oh, this is what happened when the kid,
yeah,
hurt his head and then, or we haven't had any incidents. So is that kind of what their services are? I'm just, because I know one thing that we really need to do is have a first booth, because like we were even having people last year when I was in with Kristen, I need a Band-Aid and I'm like, okay. You know what I mean?
I
Like, we need-
definitely intend for us to have a first aid station this year.
Medics.
That's
Do that.
not the fire department. I mean, it'd be great if it was the fire department, but they have to be here all day.
Yeah,
They leave at 4 PM, so
Right.
it's not gonna work.
okay. I just wanted to know what that medical service meant.
We don't have necessarily a tight, like, this is what what the contract will be, but if you look at, which page? Page would be 41. So we would go and we'd say, these are the positions, like, we want these many of these positions done. And would staff it based off of those, which I think, this general event staff numbers are less than what we were paying Troy last year. I think even their supervisors may be less than what we were paying for Troy last year.
Well, we really don't know either, like with the concert, we gotta wait until we get our contract to see what.
Yeah, And if you wanna see, I have those other two proposals over there that have their prices. And again, this process wasn't, we didn't, at the time we put the bid out, we don't know. We don't know that we need 8 and 5 and 1 and 2, right? Somebody to show us that they could do an event. And that, have an idea on what their prices were gonna be per person.
One thing I want to talk about is the bag checker. Because last year, I mean, I think it's a thing, like, it's normal if you leave this county to get your bag checked.
Yeah.
It made people really mad. I understand the need for it. We have to have consistency. So if you're gonna look in my bag, you better look in your bag,
Yeah,
Mhm,
and then your bag.
mhm.
So either we look in all bags or we look in no bags. Drinks. 4-H families have to be able to bring their stuff in and out because they can't necessarily afford to eat here all week.
Yeah.
There has to be some
Give and take.
give and take and understanding. Like, if you bought a pop in the pop machine here and then walked to your car, they wouldn't let you back in with your pop that you bought in here. Like, that kind of stuff we have to have, or like Madeline was let in with a coffee one day, but then they didn't let someone else, so then they thought, oh, Callie's daughter got favoritism, except they didn't know who Callie was at the
Yeah.
gate.
Yeah.
So then there was complaints that our kids got favoritism because she got to bring her coffee in one day.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's a discussion that we can have once we get these people
And-
under
and-
contract and sit down with them to make
yeah,
sure
like the
that,
diabetic,
that we're all on the same page.
right,
with
but
everything.
during the initial conversations, we need to make sure things are clear
Yeah.
that there needs to be consistency, but also understanding that
Mhm.
4-H kids are different than kids coming to the fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I met with these guys too. They were at the conference there, at the Olympic concert, and it was really, really cool. And he actually still had a binder there with when they did from Clatsop County. And so it was kind of cool.
When was the last time they were here for Clatsop County?
It's been a while, so,
Probably 17.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not that long ago, if that's what you're saying, like, it wasn't
No, I
way,
just
way
wanna
back.
know, like, when
Um,
last time they were here.
yeah, I think we learned a lot about what we did and didn't want from security, you know, it was challenging, cause you know, a lot of the messaging was we need to make a big change and people are gonna be happy no matter what, you know, they weren't.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we asked for, but now we have a better idea of what, you know, the balance.
What we need.
The other
Yeah.
way,
Yep.
and I think we could definitely work with that, like, what, we just need to tell him what our rules are, so
Yeah.
that he can tell his staff what the rules are. If you're telling your staff that everybody's gotta get an ID check, then everybody's gonna get their ID check. If you're saying no outside food drinks, his employee doesn't really have the discretion to make those things, but if
Yeah.
we tell them, if we give them some guidelines to go off of, they should be able to work with that.
Yeah.
And again, these guys work more at fairs and festivals year round. The others do a few events, but I'm not sure how many fairs they did, you know, they're doing bars and concerts and.
Yeah.
And stuff like that,
Big city stuff.
yeah.
You're not big city.
So, I mean, definitely the security team, we can hit on those points and talk with them, and I've had a couple of conversations with them and told them about some of the issues we had last year and how to deal with it. I think they're gonna be much more easygoing. And to be said, you know, I thought that the team last year, I thought they did go above what we had asked them to do. They were doing a lot of event staff where we didn't have people to do what.
They did step in where we needed it.
It was confusing with the difference between the alcohol monitoring and the security, and they were separate, but they were together. It was the same company that was doing the two, so it looked like there was even more security
And what
for
there
us
was.
than what we had. Yeah, and getting that lined up, like, we had a problem with over drinking and stuff the year before. We didn't have that problem last year, so. We can balance it out on that.
I make a motion to move forward with the security company for this fair with the exception of us being able to make a motion for the Event Pros Northwest to be our security this year, and that us going through everything once we get everything lined up with Joe and going through the bag checking and all that kind of stuff.
So do we wanna do the ticketing part with them also, and have to do the admissions?
Yes.
Ticketing?
Yes, I would like them to do that. it's so hard to find volunteers.
Yeah.
If we can get them to have somebody do that,
I'm not gonna be able to remember to repeat all of this. in your vote.
okay, I'll redo my motion.
Just for ticketing and security.
Okay, so I make a motion for Event Pros Northwest to do our security and our ticketing for Fair of 2024.
Okay, motion's on the table.
I second.
No, you gotta let me do my job.
Let's go.
I'm next.
Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great. I think you guys are really happy with it.
I did.
She said aye.
I did. It's a little well, but it's been-
Okay. Anything for the good of the order?
come back to me because there was something I want to say.
I'm sure today.
Okay, so moving forward, you're gonna be working on, permitting issues for down in the field, right?
Rooming.
Permitting issues,
Yes,
yep, for getting our land use permits and stuff, that's gonna be in motion,
yes.
right? And then, we're gonna keep on working on bids for the horse stalls to finish barn A this year,
Next fiscal year.
next
Right.
fiscal year, yes, this calendar year, I guess. That's all I have.
Then looking to renting.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is that as an OSET coach, that we did some banners for our fundraising, and if I could get Clatsop County Affairs logo emailed to me, because since you guys do provide us to practice here, you guys are gonna go on our sponsor banner, because you guys do provide us with the facility for our team to come and practice, so there's one that, you guys, so that will go on there, and that will also be good for you guys to be able to say that, yeah, you guys do facilitate that.
And that leads to, I didn't really mention it, but that's something that I'd like to talk about in the future also, is our logo. Like, we have the bowl that says Clatsop County Fair, but then we also have the anchor in the trees that says Clatsop County Fair and Expo. I like the bowl, but it's confusing when you're trying to like rent the place for weddings, and make the point that we're an event center. So trying to balance that out, like, I don't know how we got from that logo to this logo, if it was meant to be like for the fair or if it was meant to
It
be.
started out as just the fair. I think it's just
Yeah,
progressed.
So maybe we need to come up with, like, work together on finalizing a true logo and sticking with that one.
that was one of the entire sessions of the conference. It was talking about like, what they call it like a brand guide, where you basically had like a one sheet thing. It says, this is your logo, these are your colors, these are the fonts you use for the different parts. And it's all out there and it's like documented that this is where we are. So at least now we know what it is. And then if we were to ever change, we knew how we got to there. There was a lot of good input on that though, but we could spend a whole work session just discussing that. But
I would like
we'll
the
get-
Fair and Expo one.
You want the anchor and the tree one?
All right, we're adjourned.
Wait,
You can ask
Mallory,
now?
Oh,
Mallory?
Mallory, well, she didn't say anything. Mallory, do you have anything?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Sorry, you're out of sight, out of mind.
That's okay.
We're adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.